we're gonna learn how to self-host N8N by ourselves. We're gonna do it from complete scratch, and I'm gonna show you exactly what you need to do to have this hosted so you can save on money and access MCP protocols, which you can only do in a self-hosted version of N8N. So stay tuned and build along with us. So N8N has been incredibly powerful over the last several months because it's allowed us the opportunity and the ability of connecting to MCPs. Now, I'm not going to get deep into MCPs like I did in the last video where I showed you how to connect it to Claude and your MCP so you can have a desktop version and being able to access them. And I gave a little bit of intro what they are. But basically what N8N allows you to do is it allows you to connect to these MCPs so you can add them to the automations, making your automation smoother and faster and a little bit more energetic, meaning that they will kind of figure out what to do once they get into the actual MCP server. Now, one caveat of that is the only way you can use MCPs with N8N is you have to connect it and make it self-hosted. Self-hosting just means instead of you using N8N servers to host the N8N platform, they are making you use like your own version of like getting up a server. So there's a bunch of different options. Some of them are a little bit more advanced than others. I happen to find this one to be the easiest one. There's some methods where you can host it on Railway, some methods where you can host it on Docker, which is your own, PC. And there's probably a multitude of different ways out there. For a complete beginner, this is probably the easiest. It is a little bit more on the technical setup. So just try to bear with it. And some of the things you don't know, just Google it, or more importantly, ask AI, because AI does have some knowledge of this and understands how to make the platform work. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and go through the entire process. We're gonna use Elestio. Elestio, or I hope I'm saying that right, is a server just like Railway, just like Docker, but again, it's in here. The only reason why I like it is one, the process is simpler out of all of them for a multitude of different reasons, but especially because of how easy it is, that's the one we're gonna use. You need to create an account. Sometimes the account does take a day to verify, so just be aware. Mine took a whole day, and that's kind of where we're at. The second thing you gotta realize is you do have to add credits, because if you are hosting online through Elestio or Railway, it does cost money, and you need to make sure you have a little bit of credits in there in order for this thing to work. Now, one thing before we get in there to kind of set this up from scratch is I want to make sure you guys take mind too that there is a server cost. There's a multitude of different servers, and each one you pick does have a different cost. And we'll go over some of these to ensure you understand what the costs are going to be. But mostly you're paying for what's called uptime, meaning having the server up somewhere where you're paying for this thing to be up. And then more importantly, understanding that if that server needs to stay up, you need to pay for it to be up. And that's where the majority of the cost is going to be. But what a self-hosted server also does, aside from connecting to MCPs, it also allows you to do unlimited executions, meaning you are not reliant on the pricing plan of N8N when you're hosting on their platform, because now you're paying for unlimited execution. So quite a bit in that, and it does make it more affordable if you go down that route, right? So without further ado, let's go ahead and log in. You'll have to start a free trial, and in starting a free trial, you definitely have to make sure you add credits. You want to make sure you go in here, go to account, inside of account, go to payment options, add your payment options, and then from here, add credits. I put $50 in credits. You can put up to 20. It's completely up to you, but you are going to need credits in order for this to work. Right now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to our default, or actually Elestio again. And in here, we're going to go to services. And inside of services, we have a search here, and you're going to type in N8N. All right, and when you do it, you're gonna hit select. Inside of select, this is the part where it's really important. I didn't pay attention to this the first time I did this, and it kind of really estimated like how much I'm gonna pay in a month, because depending on the size of the server you get, it's really important for you to understand, like, again, what it's going to be involved if you do something like this. So here is where you're going to pick up your servers. And I got to be honest, I did a little bit of research on this, of cost comparisons and everything else. I want to make sure you fully understand. You can go ahead and check out DigitalOcean and MSI Lightsail. Out of all of these, those are the other ones that are pretty reasonable. You select wherever the server is, and again, shop on your own accord. But if you just want to start out with the basic plan and you're only planning on doing like, let's say 100 executions, you could start off here and always upgrade to a different server later on. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here into this mid-tier range, which is going to cost me about $39, $40 a month. Reason being is I am planning on doing all my personal automations and executions through here, and I'm in the process of moving those over. So this will be probably where I'm going to start, because this allows me to have a little bit more breathing room, a little bit more storage, and a little bit more bandwidth. And usually if you're doing anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000 in here, you can pretty much start in here and always upgrade later on to the more powerful servers as you see fit, right? And as the executions. But to start off for me, I'm going to do this. If you want to start in here, you can also. Just understand you're going to be limited to probably about 100 executions. And if you're running a lot of executions at one time, you're going to probably run into a little bit of a snag. But other than that, if you're just starting out, you can definitely start in there. It'll cost you about 20 bucks. But again, I'm going to start here. So I did pick Hertzner, and I did come in here, and I am selecting the mid-tier plan, and I'm going to go ahead and hit next. And what I'm going to do is, after I hit it, it's going to come up for a name. Mine is going to be N8N, and we're going to do automated marketer. And I am going to do the regular email, which is my email right there. Just do level 1 support for now. And I'm going to hit create service. All right. Allows response time, 7-day remote backup. I'm okay. Again, I'm not really worried about it. Hey, we want to interrupt this video for a quick little minute to just let you know that I hope you're enjoying this video. We want to thank you for being here. But more importantly, we are hoping that this content helps you do whatever you're trying to do inside a high level. We also want to let you know that you have options to get additional help. We offer a $197 a month VIP coaching program that includes 4 days of office hours, first come, first serve with Andy or myself, where we go in and we answer any of your questions that you might have live with the group setting for other people that are also working in high level. We also have a VIP group where we answer questions directly one-on-one with anybody posting in that group to give you the absolute best support. It also comes with a bunch of other features, including our funnel brick system, our little mini course, and more importantly, a couple guides that'll help you through this, and also including our SOP library that we use for pretty much everything inside of our agency. So thank you for this quick little minute, but more importantly, go back to the video, get whatever you need, and if you have any questions that we can answer inside the video, just drop a comment on the video and we'll make sure to answer whenever we get a chance. And now back to the show. All right, now that the service is running, and I did have to refresh the screen and did have to wait a few minutes, I'm going to go ahead and click on it. It was about 2 minutes in total. And now you have all the information you need on here. By the way, if you ever want to upgrade the plan, you can. And also your support level for the server, not NAN. Want to make sure we're clear on that. And then you can even put a custom domain name for your own instance. But for instance, right in here, I'm going to actually grab this. I'm going to go ahead and hit copy. And I'm going to paste my new server address right in here. And this is now my own self-hosted version of N8N, right? So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to use a different email, right? So let me just change this real quick. And basically I'm setting up my own account directly in here. Now you can go ahead and fill this out, just kind of get started, other, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to go ahead and hit get started. And basically it sends a free license key that allows you for extra debugging, searching, and tagging and workflow history, which review and restore any workflow versions in the last 24 hours. Just a little bit of extra support that you're allowed to have in here. And you're gonna hit send me a free license key. Awesome. And then it says your license key is on the way. You're gonna get your license key. Now I'm not obviously gonna share mine, but you're gonna come over here. And if you go over to the 3 little dots on the bottom, you're gonna go to settings. Inside of settings, it says unlock selected paid features forever for free. And here is where you enter the activation key, and the activation key you get in the mail, you want to go ahead and put that in there. Notice you have unlimited workflows. So as you go ahead and do that, you're going to have the ability of doing that. And also you're on the community edition. You can have unlimited workflows in here. And now you know that about hosting this server, for a whole month is going to cost you about 43 bucks or so, right? So now what's really cool about this is now you're self-hosted. That was literally it. Now we're going to install MCP so we can access the most powerful part of self-hosting, which is the ability of connecting MCP. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to community nodes and we're going to install a community node. And if you go into servers in here, I'll give you the link. And here's the link to the actual GitHub for NAN for nerding.io. This is the guy who created it. Incredibly generous that he did this because he opened it up for everybody else. So this guy's a legend. So what we're going to do is we're actually, believe it or not, just going to copy the name. Once we copy the name, we are going to go over here to the NPM package name. We're going to paste it and we're going to hit I understand, and we're going to go ahead and hit install. So now that this is there, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and hit settings, and you're going to notice that we're going to have a start from scratch. And in the start from scratch, we are going to go ahead and build this out so we can start adding the MCPs. So there's a couple more steps that we're going to have now. Now let's validate that the node is in there. So I'm going to add node and I'm going to type in MCP. And look, we have our MCP client right here, which is pretty awesome. So that means it's fully attached, but there are some additional parts because now we're going to have to be able to execute on some other different things. And there's additional parts that we need to add, right? So let's just kind of get to it. So first thing we're going to do is we're just going to create a little bit of a chat function, and we're going to create a simple one in here. Add first step, and we're going to do on chat message, okay? And we're just going to test the chat to say, hey there. Okay, cool. Now we're going to have an advanced AI agent. That's basically just going to take a prompt of basically what we're going to do, all right? And basically we're gonna do our first tool, right? So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go to MCP and we're gonna go to our client and we're gonna try to list tools. Unfortunately, there is no credentials that we set up yet, so we're gonna have to do that now. So we're gonna first create our first new credential. So we're gonna hit create new credential. And notice that here, we're gonna name the first one we're due. Now, just to make it super easy, we're gonna do the first one being Airbnb. It happens to be a good test one that a lot of people on the internet are doing, and we're gonna do the same exact thing. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go over to the actual servers that have all of the MCP, and we're gonna scroll down. You're gonna notice that these are all the MCPs we're gonna be able to tap into. And we're gonna go to the one all the way down to the Airbnb one, just because it's free first, and second, it's a really good test one, especially for N8N. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab the Airbnb one or just click on it, and it's gonna go down and we're looking for the one that says NPX, and we're gonna do the first one because that's the one that's gonna basically work with here. So what we're gonna do is we are gonna go to our line right here and we're gonna do MCP-Airbnb. Okay, the way it's written is we definitely wanna understand. So here it's gonna ask you for the command. So the command is the NPX, all right? So we're gonna put over here, we're gonna put in the command. The arguments are gonna be the next part. So you're gonna put in, and it's kind of broken into two parts. You're gonna put in the Y, the -Y, okay? And Control C, come in here, space, paste it right in there. And basically at the end of the day, you're just gonna remove all the quotations because there's no need for quotations in this. The comma, don't need that comma because that's the way it copied over, guys. And then again, we just want one little space in here in order to do it. And then in the environments, we are just gonna leave it the way it is and we should be able to save. Awesome. Created credentials is ready, set to go, and we're good. The only other thing we're gonna do is we're gonna come over here and this is gonna be Airbnb. We're gonna leave it like that, okay? And now let's just ensure that this is working. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna attach, and instead of saying MCP client, let's rename this node. And it's gonna be MCP Airbnb, and this is gonna be listing because we have to list all the functions that I could do because it's got a list. This is gonna be list tools because there's always two steps involved. One is the list and the other one is the execute in most, right? So let's rename that real quick. And we have that pulling in. So now let's kind of go in. Oh, and we need a chat model. So let's go ahead back to our AI agent. And we're going to do our chat model and we're just going to use OpenAI. OpenAI, we're going to go ahead and create a new credential. I'm going to go ahead and get that credential key. So I'm going to put my API key in my organization. Now you need the AI to really run MCPs because the AI is the brain that's going to figure out which of these MCPs you're going to use. So in this instance, it's a brand new situation. So I have to install my OpenAPI key. So I went to OpenAI, I logged in. So again, this is openai.com. I logged in, I go to API platform. And in here, we're actually going to start from scratch. So let's do in here where your default projects, you're going to create a new project. Inside the project, I'm going to name this NAN self-host. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and hit create. And when I hit create, it will just switches the project. The next important thing that I have to do is make sure that I have billing on. So I'm going to hit the little settings on the top right-hand side. I'm going to go to billing. And just like before, I'm going to add a credit balance. You can create a credit balance of like 15 bucks, 100. I use OpenAI quite a bit. So my balance is always at 100. But again, you would want to come in here and add a credit balance, start of whatever you want. But no matter what, you need credits in order to operate OpenAI. And this is the back end. You need to do the same thing for Claude AI if you want to use Claude. But again, if you're getting into this, this is something you should be pretty aware of, but you want to go ahead and create this. Make sure you have credits in there. Let's go back to our settings again. And in the settings on the left-hand side, we have API keys. Now, I have listed a bunch of API keys into this. I'm recreating this one, so I'm going to actually delete this or revoke it. And now I'm going to create a new one. This is going to be N8N, and this is going to be Elestio, okay? Select the project. I'm going to keep it to N8N, self-host, all right? Create the secret key. I'm going to copy that key. I'm going to go back to my OpenAI. I'm going to drop it in there. I'm not going to put anything else. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. I should see a green check mark that it's tested and connected. Now I got my OpenAI. I'm good to go there. So what I'll do is I can connect to O-Mini, O1, whatever that I want. I'm going to do with O-Mini for now, and we're just going to leave it the way it is. And now I got my OpenAI model, and I have my MCP right here. And now let me go ahead and chat. And that's going to be the first area we're going to run into, because now this is the second complicated part that you need to do. If you go back to the nerding.io, right, the MCP node that you have on here, if you scroll all the way down, there is a Docker image that needs to be done on the installation, which is this right here. It needs to be set to true. So what you're going to do is you're going to come in here. You're going to go back to Elestio. Once you're in here, again, if you come straight back in here, if you shut it down for whatever reason, double click on your service. The service comes up. And now what we're going to do is we're going to update a particular config file right in here. Once we update the config file, all right, you're going to notice all this crazy stuff in here, and you're going to get to this pink part right here. And what you're going to do is you're going to come over here, you're going to hit enter, and you're going to grab this information, which is the NAA community package allow tool usage. Go back to your Elestio server, drop it in here, and then what you're going to do is you're going to have it with a colon and then true, all right? And again, remember, all I did was, and actually I took the colon out and I just put a little space and I made sure it's true, make sure it's pink. And then the only thing we're going to do is update and restart. And remember, the way you did this is you went into that update config file, you went into environment, you scroll all the way down, you saw N8N community packages allow tool usage, and then hit true, and then hit update and restart. So as you can see, now we're going to come back in here, and after this whole Elestio server, it's back to this page. And then what I'm going to come over here is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to just save, and then I'm going to refresh. Okay, now let's try it again. So what things can you do in Airbnb? Let's see. All right, now the agent's going to go check. It's checking our MCP. Now it works the MCP, and we're not getting that weird error because, again, we allowed it in the N8N to basically work. And now we're going to come over here, and it's search for Airbnb listings, get listing details. Fantastic. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create another tool that's going to execute on those things based on the list that I received, right? So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to, again, type in MCP. We're going to grab the MCP tool. This time it's going to be execute. And all we're going to do is just rename this again, MCP, and it's going to be execute. So now we're actually going to get a little more technical, and we're going to go right into an expression. So if you click on expression, you're going to come in here and you're going to do a little double quotes. And as you notice, this is going to pull up a whole bunch of commands that allows you to go through here. We're going to do from AI, because what we're going to do is we're going to create basically the ability of the AI making the decision on its own, because it's going to realize that these are all going to be tools. So I'm going to put in quotations tool, and then I'm going to put a little comma right after that's basically going to allow it to understand what the tool is. The tool selected. Okay. All right. We should be good. So let's go ahead and try it. So again, just make sure you put this in here. I'm going to put it onto the actual SOP that you can, again, sign up and download. But again, this is the super easy one that you could just do. So let's just go ahead and see this work. So we're going to come out of here. All right. Let's try it again. We're going to trash this in October with my son, who is 13 years old. Please make sure it's near activities. Okay. Now, if we did this right, it's going to identify that it needs a tool because this is the tool agent. It's going to grab the list of tools, and then it's going to execute by grabbing the information from Airbnb directly with little or no prompt, only the chat input as the prompt. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to go ahead and select. And it's going to pull all the tools first because it needs the tools in order to execute on them. And now it's executing on the tools. So if we did it right and we didn't mess up on the JSON file, it should now pull in all the information from the AI. And we're going to do one more ad of like the Brave browser, because again, this is another one that's super simple. And then you can get more complex as you see fit. Now, here you go on the right-hand side. This is all set to go. Pretty simple. Look how cool that is. Okay, now the next one we're going to do is probably Brave, because again, Brave is easy. So again, I come over here, I go to my MCP servers. That is a link with all the servers on it. I'm going to come back out of here, and then I'm going to go over to my Brave search. And in the Brave search, again, I am looking for the NPX because that's usually the one that's going to work with this. And I'm going to grab this information right in here. So same as before, it's always going to be, you're going to connect one credential, but then you're going to use the listing and then the execution. So what we're going to do is go back to our instance, come in here, and we are going to add now another tool. We're going to do MCP, use another client tool, except this time we want to add a new credential. The new credential, again, is going to come over here. This is going to be MCP Brave. All right. The command we know is NPX. It's NPX. The argument was Y. And I'm going to drop the Y argument right in here. Then we are going to go ahead and grab the protocol, okay? And notice that we're not putting in any quotations or anything like that. I had to learn that the hard way. I didn't understand that you didn't need that. And sometimes you just need to change the language up a little bit. And then the environment, we are going to copy this, and the environment's going to go down here. Oh, but you know what? It's actually better. You have to see it. So what you're going to do is, you know, if you want to just create a little text doc for yourself, because it does involve a couple steps, come in here, just open up a text doc. This is the environment. So the Brave API key, we're going to lose the quotations, lose the actual colon to become an equal. And then believe it or not, we're just going to go grab the API key from your Brave browser. And this is what it's going to look like, right? So if you need the Brave browser API, just similar to what we did with the actual, you know, OpenAI, go to Brave API. You're going to come in here. You're going to log in and search. When you search, I already created an account to sign up and create an account. It's free, but if you're going to be using this regularly, you can pay for credits. You come in here, you go to APIs on the left-hand side. Once you're in, you come into, I believe, the dashboard, and then you go to APIs. Then in here, add a new API key, whatever the name is. So here you would be N8N Brave Browser. And I already have one, so I'm just going to do Brave Browser 2. I'm going to hit add our text folder that we created. And then I'm just going to drop the API key right after the equals. I'm going to copy this. This will be what I put in the environment. And now this should automatically connect. Now, I'm going to go ahead and delete this API key and put my other one in here, and then we're going to go from there. All right, the credentials all are good. I got a really good sign that it worked. And then in here, I'm going to go ahead and again, MCP Brave list tools. That's the first model. And again, we always want to rename these guys to make it easy. So MCP Brave list tools. And then back out of here, then we're going to go ahead and add another tool, MCP, and this is going to be the execution tool. So Brave, and then we're going to have execute. And just like before, same thing, right? Go to expression. We're going to do our double curly brackets, whatever those are. This will pull this up. We are looking for from AI, and we're going to type in the word, remember, in quotations tool. And then after the quotations, put a comma, and we're going to put in here the tool selected. And we're going to add the little quotations at the end here. Oh, it's got an extra quotation. Okay, and there we go. So that should be good to go. And we now have, again, we forgot to name it. I always forget to name them. Come over here, MCP. Instead of saying client, this is going to be Brave Execution. Okay, rename, go back. All right, now, again, we're good to go. These are good. And we're going to go ahead and trash that. I'm going to go ahead and save this. I can make this active. Because remember, now I have unlimited. I don't have any limitations on using any of these. We have our Brave listed tools and our Brave execution. Let's actually go ahead and try this again, right? So now it should distinct on, you know, whether I need Airbnb or whether I need Brave by itself. Again, this is what the whole point of MCPs are. And what we're going to do is hopefully get it to go to the Brave execution by asking it a question. So what we're going to do is, what are some of the activities I can do in Japan in October of 2025? Now, that's going to force the AI agent not to answer with OpenAI, because OpenAI might know that, but it will hopefully search the internet based on that. All right, let's see. Oh, good. It went right to Brave. It figured out that that's the tool it needed to use. And here's the Brave executions. Awesome. And now it should come back. So it figured out that it needed that versus the Airbnb. And again, this is how powerful, and this is the main reason why you want to do that. So on top of self-hosting, we can have unlimited executions. You now have access to MCPs and installing that in there to make it super powerful for you to use when you're N8N. So hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you in the next one.